Good morning. Happy New Year. Oh, what a beautiful day. Yes, yes. Yes, yes. Laura's coming in. That's nice. Thank you, Thomas. My hand's cold, so I won't.
Oh, you can't get me cold.
All right, we'll do.
Warm of a person.
God bless you, brother.
Yeah,
Good to
I
see
mean,
you.
when people are cold, I said, well, put your hand on mine.
Ooh, your hand's always warm.
Always.
Oh, bless you.
Always.
Can I put this one up there too?
Sure.
Ooh, you see how cold my hands are?
Put your hand on. Put your hands on me. Put your hands on me.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It just transfers. It's always. I've always been warm.
Bless God.
Yeah. I mean, I don't worry about getting cold. Like I didn't come in here with the cold. I just got out of my car and took the rain as it is.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is amazing. How you doing?
Listen, everybody is kind of afraid of the weather. Yeah.
That's your nephew?
Gary was supposed to be here. Winston was supposed to be here. But they said
Now,
because of
is
the weather.
Sandra the one that was at
Hey, we don't know. We just say we don't know.
my roommate?
They don't know.
Darnell got me married. She's my maid on. Cecil? Cecil, yes, absolutely. Did you? Well, when y'all were at, no, where they live in You be there if nobody else was. That's like preachers.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. For our speaker, and for those that are here for the very first time, my name is Laura McClady, one of the facilitators for the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, along with Jackie Walton Edwards. Jackie Edwards Walton. And Steve Johnson and Thomas Moore, and who's not with us this morning is Mary Johnson, Winston Robinson, Nathalie McElrath, Carlina Ivory. Anyway, we like to welcome you to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum, and we'd like to say that we had to decide whether or not we were going to convene this morning, but we figured that as long as the center is offering us the space, no matter what, because of we've gotten some feedback about the school's closing, and the feedback was if the schools are closing, then some people don't want to deal with the weather today. But after conversing with the three of us communicating, we decided that we would go ahead and have the forum. And for those that are here for the very first time, we'd like for you to introduce yourself, but we always like to start off with the word of prayer. Jackie, would you do some word of prayer?
Father, thank you so much for this beautiful day. Thank you for the very first meeting of this year, 2024, of the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. We just ask that you just bless as we are about to begin, and those who are on their way, keep them safe. In the name of the soon coming King, we pray. Amen.
Thank you. As we have shared by way of the website, this is a new series that we're starting, which is a series of passing the torch. And we had scheduled this for today to the presentation to be done by Dax McClady, who is my son, who is a State Farm agent. And he has his own agency, but he was mentored by two African-American males in Charlotte. Got me, Steve?
Take another one.
And we wanted to start this series so we can do this at least twice a month after March. We're going to celebrate February for Black History Month and also March for Women's Month, but we will continue this series on passing the torch, and we're going to focus on the African American businesses in our community on an ongoing basis. But without any further ado, for those that are here for the first time, we'd like for you to just introduce yourselves. Jax, you've been here before, haven't you? Okay. Ken.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Ken Wiggins. I'm a local business owner, small business owner I also represent a number of different clients, and today I'm representing an organization called Launch for Life, which is a nonprofit, as a strategic partnership manager. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Jacob Vance III. I'm here in my capacity as a citizen here in Charlotte, North Carolina, who is thoroughly concerned with the progression of the Black community, and also in here is my capacity working with Dax McClay and a
Good morning, everybody. I'm Stephen Hill. I'm Dax McClady's cousin. I'm here in support.
Good morning, I'm Maurice McClady. I'm Dax McClady's father, Laura McClady's husband, and I'm here to support my family, period, and all the work that the Black businessmen are doing in this town. And I hope you guys continue to do this and grow. Make this a better town to live in. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you all and welcome. And just for information, we do not know who will be attending these meetings. We've gotten feedback, as I mentioned, because of the weather. We don't have some people that were not able to come this morning because of the weather. But we never know who will come in and what time they will come in. And they come in respectfully and leave respectfully. So without any further ado, I'd just like to ask if Dax will come, and as you listen to his presentation, if you have any questions, the questions are facilitated by the facilitators. We identify those individuals that have questions, and once we identify you and we go by a show of hands, we allow you to ask the question, and then the presenter will answer the questions, and we just keep it in order that way, because it's still facilitated by the facilitator, and the presenters will just follow the instructions and answer the questions. And sometimes we give you a certain time frame. We usually have a timer here as well for you to ask your question and to answer your question. So without any further ado, I'd like to present Dax Lamar McClady, agent for the State Farm Insurance Agency. And Dax, you might want to use your microphone because this is live stream as well as Facebook Live. Is it on? Take this.
Yeah, we're good. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here under these weather circumstances, and thank you for anybody that's tuning in online and through Facebook or YouTube. Certainly am happy to be here to share my story a bit and give people some insight on what I do and what I have to bring to the community, and also give some people some insight on what the community has done for me in my career. So first off, like my mom said, my name is Dax McClady. I'm a native Charlottean, been here all my life, all 45 years of my life so far, and I've certainly seen a lot of uptick in the people that have been moving here, and a lot of uptick in just the business and the motion that Charlotte has going. So I'm very proud to have seen that growth happen over my lifetime. And like my mom was saying, part of this series that they're doing is about passing the torch. So I want to get a little into how the torch was passed to me. So starting off, as far as me getting into the insurance, into my career within insurance and protection, I started maybe back in 2001. As a matter of fact, one of my mentors and the people that I'm about to speak about is also here. Good morning to you all. And Mr. White, if you wouldn't mind coming on up here and taking a seat, looking as sharp as always. Oh, yeah, I know. Mhm. All right. Yes. So you can have a seat now. So what I was saying is, yeah, when I first got into this business, I had initially, after my son was born in 2000, I had initially started working at a call center for Allstate. And at that time, my mother and my father actually had always had their insurance through the Bob White Allstate agency for many, many years. So I've known Bob since I was a little kid. I grew up hanging out with his nephews, and we all attended the same church. So Bob has always been in my life to an extent, but it went to another level back in 2001, I want to say. Good morning. And where Bob had talked to my mom, and she had explained to him that I was working at an Allstate call center. So he gave her the message to see if I would be willing to come in there and work with him in his agency. So after a year of working in the call center, I took Bob up on his offer and got the opportunity to come in and work directly in his agency. So this is, of course, a black male that took me in, and right off the bat, when I started working for Bob's agency, he had given me a pointer where he explained that, yeah, Dax, this is not like the call center, which is more of a service agency, or excuse me, a service situation. This is also, in addition to service, a sales agency. So I'll never forget that conversation because it definitely flipped a switch in my mindset around really having a growth mindset. I don't remember him using that term, having a growth mindset, but when I look back on it, I truly believe that's really what he was talking about, because I do have a philosophy that having a growth mindset is just a way of life. When a child is born, you want that child to grow. When a person is just an adult, you want to grow old. You want to grow with regard to your knowledge of the world. When a seed is planted, you want it to grow. So all of that circles back to Bob explaining to me that, yeah, we're going to help the people, we're going to service the people, but we also want to grow. We want to help more people. And that's something that's always stuck with me throughout my life and through my career. And so, yeah, I started working for Bob right around 2002. And he and I worked together for about a decade, probably up till about 2012. I worked with Bob, and for the most part, throughout those years, there were maybe three of us in the office: myself, Bob, and another woman named Deborah Lathrop. And Deborah was a humongous help to me in there as well. Deborah was the one in the office who kind of put me on to a lot of the nuts and bolts of the business and working within the agency. Bob was really good about giving me those pointers and directing me in the right way as far as how to maneuver on a day-to-day basis. But I can assure you it was Deborah that was a lot more hands-on about how to work the systems and how to understand coverages and things of that nature. And between the two of them, I learned a lot and really enjoyed my time there. And yeah, I mean, Bob, because the way the office was set up, I was in the very front of the office. When somebody would come in, I would usually be the first line of defense. So that always kept me on roller skates. I had to be ready to be agile and understand what people are needing and what people were wanting. And I mean, I don't know if he did that on purpose or not, but it certainly helped me to learn quickly. So I appreciate that. And then the next layer in our office would have been Deborah, so she would have been the second person that people would have had to get to. And then you really had to know somebody or be somebody really special to be able to get back there to Bob. And I again, that's one of those things where I don't know if he did it on purpose, but it certainly put me in a position where I had to learn quick. And I mean, I thank God for it because it helped me a lot. And I certainly had to deal with a lot of different people and different situations on a day-to-day basis. under that circumstance. But even with Bob, like I was saying, some of the nuts and bolts of things, Bob had already done that. He'd probably, because Bob, what year did you open up?
85.
So Bob had opened up in 1985, so he had already been at it for almost 20 years before I'd even gotten there. So I can only imagine what things were like when he first opened up. Plus he started from scratch, which as I've learned, as I've grown older, that's a whole nother beast that, I'll speak to that once I get to modern day. But I didn't have to deal with that when I opened up my business a few years ago. So I recognize that. But with Bob, he gave me a blueprint and a tangible example of what could come in this business, in the insurance business. And one of the other things that Bob would always talk about is the importance of us as insurance professionals and protection professionals understanding our products, understanding the protections that we had to offer, and just educating the people that we came in contact with, educating people, even if they didn't ask for it, because it was an insurance office, it was a business, so if somebody came in contact with us there, whether over the phone or if they dropped in, I mean, we can exchange pleasantries, that's all good, but at the same time, we had business to handle and we had protections to explain. And he would always say, just educate the person, educate the folks, and let them make the decision. But it was up to us to make sure that they knew all of the nuances and the particulars about protection. And at the end of the day, we lay it out for them on the table and they pick and choose what they see fit that works best for their need. And but yeah, having Bob as a mentor and a right beside me, like close to me, example of what business ownership looks like and business ownership within the insurance and protection business was everything for me. And it certainly sparked a lot of inspiration. And I mean, I get to tell Bob this quite often. We've talked about it numerous times, but I'm happy to be able to share it in front of an audience and the people online watching that, yeah, this man in particular is one of the people that has helped me in my journey in the insurance profession tremendously. So again, thanks to you, Bob, and thank you and Mrs. White for showing up this morning on this nasty day. I definitely appreciate you all. So again, started off with Bob in the insurance profession. And also I will say, in 2006, and this goes to some of the connections that working under Bob and his agency got me linked with. There's a gentleman named Don Lewis that that Bob actually had his business at his office, and Bob actually encouraged me to go get my life and health license. And the life and health license allows me to help people with their protections for life insurance and certain health products that we offer now with my State Farm agency, but we also could offer under Bob's agency as well. And Don Lewis is another one. He's a black man who I got connected with, and he did a great job when I was taking his courses of teaching me the things that I needed to know in order to gain my license to be able to help more people in more ways within Bob's agency and later on in my career. So that's one of probably hundreds or maybe even thousands of connections that I was able to make in that decade working under Bob. So fast forward, I kind of graduated from Bob's office, and there was a stint for a year where I worked for a woman named Tina Jordan Nelson, and she was also an Allstate agent. And it just so happened that shortly after I started working with her, she had decided that she was going to retire. So I kind of got a chance to work with her during her last year of her long storied career with Allstate. But she also had a very big impact on me with regard to allowing me to kind of run the show and kind of be in the office a lot by myself, and she trusted me with her clients and her clientele. And so there were a lot of days where I got a chance to do everything from top to bottom. And there was nothing that I had to go through her for, because she had entrusted that in me, and the people eventually trusted me. And so I always like to thank Tina for not only that time that she shared with me and allowed me to work with her, but the next step in my career was Tina connecting me with a gentleman named Howard Johnson. And Howard is was a State Farm agent. So, and even when I worked with Bob, I remember Bob and T at times, they all knew one another. I mean, it's a small group of African American agents, period, in the Charlotte area, as far as I know. But we were familiar with one another, but I did not know Howard personally. And I remember Tina giving me some insight, saying, okay, I know you're used to Allstate, and I know you're used to those systems, and that's where your comfort is, but you might want to go check out Howard. He's looking for someone. I had all of my license, which was a prerequisite to work for him, and I took her advice. And I thank God for that, because in May of 2012 is when I started working under Howard and working in his agency. And working for Howard was a different style. It was a different feel. Howard is he was a little more intense about business and about things than my guy Bob was. So I had to learn his ways and kind of get used to his teaching style and his business ownership style. But it worked out. We definitely got along really well. And a fun fact about Howard was that, and I know Howard probably opened up his agency sometime in maybe the mid to early 80s, but Howard was actually the first Black agent in Charlotte for State Farm. So there were no other black agents that represented the company of State Farm in Charlotte before Howard opened up his office in the 80s. And I remember learning that early on when I started working for Howard. And that hit home for me. That was important for me, but I could tell it was something very important for him, that, with regard to him wanting to extend his legacy. And early on when I started working for Howard, I was not 100% sure about what I wanted to do as far as entrepreneurship goes. I was fairly comfortable working for these gentlemen. Both, like I said, Bob was great to me and very easy to get along with. And going back to Bob, under Bob, my wife and I had a chance to buy our first house, and then we ended up buying a second house during that time with him. So things were comfortable enough, and we were living well enough to where I just didn't see the bigger picture as far as being an owner and being in the position that Bob and Howard were in. But one thing about Howard is, like I said, he's intense and he's really persistent, and he would always have conversations with me about, look, Dax, I built this business over these, 30 years, almost 40 years, and I would love to be able to hand it off and hand this book of business over to somebody that I've helped to kind of raise in this business, and somebody that I trust with it. And again, it took me a while for it to click, but I certainly can just remember him seeing that in the big picture well before I got to the point that I'm at now. And one thing that Howard was really persistent about was the importance of life insurance. In my years with Allstate, we did do life insurance, and I got my license while working with Bob, but we had a different setup with regard to how the insurance professionals in the office would deliver life insurance to our clients. It wasn't always a direct conversation. We had a middle person that we would set up the conversations for. But when I worked for Howard, he expected me and required that I speak directly with people. Like one of his things when I first got in there was like, all right, you gotta get, 10, 20 people to write life insurance policies for. And I had not really written a life insurance policy before, so that was a little scary for me. But because of his persistence, and of course I needed the job, I wanted to make sure I stayed getting paid. I did what I had to do, and I got a serious appreciation and a liking for being able to help families protect their loved ones with life insurance protection. So that was something that Howard was really big on, and I remember Howard telling me, and I know Bob had to do the same thing, when they first opened up their agencies, they were not only from scratch, so they started with 0 customers, but they were probably going through the phone books, I'm sure, calling people, certainly going door to door, knocking on doors, trying to solicit and get people to help them with their protections. And the more I thought about it, I had to grow even more respect for them and how they had to come up in this business of insurance, because by the time I got into it, that was not the situation. Most of the stuff that we did over the phone, or people would come to us. Bob had a really nice location up until his retirement when I was working for him, so we were in a good space where people would just walk up on us, and so did Howard when I started working with him in 2012. But yeah, he was so adamant about making sure that people had protections, because he would tell me these stories about going out to people's homes and getting a chance to sit with them, and they would share with him their current life insurance policies, where some man or woman, or probably a man back then, would have come by their house and they might have sold them a life insurance policy, maybe worth the death benefit worth maybe $5,000. And Howard would say, I'm over here, I got this State Farm policy where I can give you, 10, 15, 25, $50,000 for maybe a few bucks more per month than what you're paying now. And he would see it over and over again, and it was something that bothered him to the point where he just made it one of his missions to make sure that everybody that he came in contact with, and especially if you called the office or came by the office, you were not going to get out of there without him saying something to you about your life insurance protection and making sure that you have the right protections in place. And I remember there would be so many days where people would come in the office, and Howard's office you had to walk past his office to get to mine, but people would be trying to skip past Howard's office and duck off because they knew he was going to say something to him about life insurance. And I respected that. I could understand where he was coming from, especially knowing the impetus of why he felt so serious about talking to people about it. And so yeah, again, worked with Howard for 10 years, and Howard decided that he was going to retire. He had made that decision right around the end of 2020. So his last year working as an agency owner was going to be the year of 2021. And the way that State Farm is set up in a way to where Howard did not have the final decision on whether or not I had the opportunity to become an agency owner. But what Howard could do was just mentor me and kind of push me to make sure that I did kind of put up numbers so that State Farm could see it. And there was a panel of people that didn't look anything like me or Howard or Bob that was going to make that decision as to whether or not I got a chance to take over Howard's office. And thank God it all worked out. I was able to meet the metrics and pass all the tests, the necessary tests that I had to pass. But the main thing was they saw over those 10 years the work that I put in. And there were times where I used to feel like, and I felt like this under Bob too at times, like, man, these guys are pushing me. Like, I'm having to do a whole lot of this work up in here. Because I remember I used to have this saying, I'm like, man, I'm I felt like I was doing the lion's share of the work and getting the cub share of the grub, you know? And it would bother me at times, but, you know, not enough to mess things up. But I'm glad I stayed cool and stayed in pocket because, again, it worked out in the end. But when State Farm decided to make that decision to allow me to take over the agency and own my own, that was one of the things that they looked at. They could see all of the input that I made to the business and to the industry, and a lot of that was because of these two gentlemen making sure that you know, that I did the work and that I was in the mix. So yeah, again, Howard's last year was in 2021, and he had been, I would say, at least 3 years prior to his retirement, he and I really would sit down sometimes at his house on a weekend or in the office when we had some downtime and start just game planning on some of the steps that I needed to take to make sure that once those set of people decided to make that decision on if I got the opportunity or not, you know, I could check off all the boxes of all the things that they were really checking for to allow me to get to that point. And so eventually in 2021, I had to take some tests, and they said, all right, we're gonna go ahead and put you through the training to become an agency owner. And I did it, and I had to go through training from August of 2021 through the end of that year. And thank God at the end of the year, I passed everything that I needed to pass. And on January the 1st of 2022 is when we opened the doors of the Dax McCletty Senior State Farm Agency. And the rest is, you know, I mean, we've made some history, thank you, but the rest is going to be history. I do plan on with the team that we have in place. And by the way, the team that we have in place, our agency is called the Protection Posse. And so our posse is all about protecting the people, making sure that not only the people are protected, but they understand what their protections are and how their protections work. And we have different layers to the Protection Posse. We got, because of course, Bob is a part of the Protection Posse on a few different fronts. You know, certainly because he mentored me and taught me a lot of what I know to this day, but he's also a part of the Protection Posse from a client standpoint. He's one of our customers as well over at my agency. But then we also have people on the Protection Posse that are on the payroll. That's a different segment. I can't put, you know, new people on the payroll, but if you want to get down with the Protection Posse, you can do so by having business with us, referring business to us. It can all be a part of that group. My mom, Laura McCletty, is a huge part of the Protection Posse as well. And my wife and my daughter, they're here, Angie in London. Good to see y'all this morning. They're a part of the Protection Posse. And yeah, like I said, we opened up our doors in January of 2022, and things have been going pretty well. This January was the start of our 3rd year, and I'm certainly proud to say that we've been able to help a lot of people in these 2 years that we've opened up with all sorts of protections, whether it's the car insurance, their home insurance, their renter's insurance, certainly their life insurance, other health products, things of that nature, rental properties. Those are all the things that we do. But I know for sure that I wouldn't have been able to get to these steps without gentlemen like Bob and Howard. And Howard was actually going to be with us this morning as well. He had a family emergency that caused him to have to be out of town, because I definitely wanted to make sure I gave these gentlemen their flowers to their faces and in front of everybody. But yeah, again, I'm happy to say that I'm a proud business owner. I got a chance to finally be at the helm of my own agency and my own company, and it's certainly a big reason for that is because of gentlemen that have passed the torch to me, like Bob and Howard, and certainly someone like Tina Jordan Nelson, who was a connector in many ways to get me to the point that I'm at. So yeah, that's my story, and that's certainly what I wanted to share with you all this morning. Let me let you guys get introduced to Bob as well.
Okay, he covered that, boy, I tell you. I don't know that I can add to that. But one thing I'm gonna correct him on is the way he came over. It's true that Laura referred him to me, but he also mentioned that he knew my brother, my older brother Melvin, and they played with his sons, Chris and Chad, who were twins. That they went to school together. But when he got ready to get the job with me and come over, my brother's kind of a grump, okay? And Dax thought that I was the same personality as my brother. So he had a few reservations about coming over, and I don't know what really pushed him over the edge, but I'm glad that he came over. He's done a tremendous job for me. Oh, okay. He's done a really tremendous job for me, and to the point that, and I have to mention T too, my wife. Introduce my wife T. Why don't you stand up or be recognized, T. White. But yeah, when he did come over, I mean, he was, how can I describe it? A calm spirit. Very smart, very intelligent, just took to instruction real well. So he was really a good person to work with and for me. So I thank him for that, because there's no way that the agency could have progressed if we had not had resourceful people like Dax. So I have to give him props too, because he definitely was a major contributor to the point that after my 37th year with Allstate, we were able to, in 2021, sell the agency, and we also retired. For 1 year, and I'm gonna veer off a little bit here. For 1 year, T and I, well, she continued to work. She just has to be a mover and a shaker. But for 1 year, I didn't do anything. And I said, I'm just gonna enjoy this retirement. And I did. But, you know, I got bored. And I didn't want to go back into insurance. So I decided to do real estate. My wife and I have been real estate investors since like 2011, 2012, along with the insurance agency, because that's one of the things, and Dax will have to come to this realization too. What are you going to do after insurance? And we cultivated that from 2012 to 2021 when we retired, to the point that after that 1 year, I have now reinstated my real estate broker's license, and we've gotten back into investing again and selling. So I don't know what to add to that, Dax, because you covered it all. Yeah. But again, I wish him well. I know that he'll do well. He's already done well already. We, and particularly my wife, he's probably gotten half of my book of business that we've sent over there to help him out. And we didn't mind, because even though they weren't my customers anymore, we knew that people were looking for a different outlet. And we knew that if we sent them over to Dax, they'd get treated like royalty. So we thank you for that, taking care of our people. And that's it, Dax.
Okay, thank you all so much. Let's give Bob a hand as well.
And I did bring cards, so I'll leave those before I leave.
Okay, now the way we facilitate the Tuesday Forum, we allow you to raise your hand and ask questions, and we have regulars, And Tommy Robinson is one of our regulars, and he usually gets the first question. So Tommy has the first question, and if you have a question that you'd like to ask either one of these gentlemen, feel free to raise your hand, and we will give you the microphone.
Yeah, my question is that, I'm 77, and black people were told about term insurance. And insurance is one of the wealth builders in America, but it's term insurance. And so I wanna know, do you, speak on term insurance? It's a lot cheaper than whole life, you know, you get a $10,000 whole life policy, you can get a $1 million term insurance policy. And so, it's one of the wealth builders in America, is term insurance. Everybody with that.
Yes, that is, that's certainly true. And term insurance is, sometimes term insurance, in my observation, has been getting like a bad rap sometimes, because people understand, if you do have any understanding about term insurance, it means that term insurance is for a specific time frame. Usually it's either gonna be sometimes 5 years, 10 years, those are usually the least amount of term, the least term that you can get, and then 20 and 30-year terms. So that means if you have gotten a policy, let's say at age 30, then the longest term that you can get is till age 60. And term insurance is very good for specific situations. Like sometimes people want to make sure that when they buy a house, that if they die before that mortgage is paid off, they have a term insurance policy to get that mortgage cleared out. Or if they have young children, they want to make sure that if they die before their kids are of an age where they can take care of themselves, they have term insurance to protect against that happening while they're living and while their kids are so dependent upon them. But you are right, Mr. Robinson, in that term insurance is always the most inexpensive insurance that you can get, but you can also get the most coverage for a lower price. So yeah, we certainly write a bunch of $500,000, $1 million policies for people, and like you said, it's inevitable unless somebody comes up with some concoction to make us live forever. You're gonna probably use this insurance at some point in your life, but maybe not the term. But and then the other side of that is a whole life policy or a universal life policy. Another word that we use for that is a permanent insurance policy. So those policies last until an individual is 121 years old, but they cost more, but they also have a mechanism within them called a cash value account. So the cash value account is kind of like a savings account that you can borrow from and pull from without having to most times be taxed on it. But that's one of the major usages of a permanent policy, is people having that cash value account, but also having coverage to last them pretty much a lifetime. But no, term insurance is very important, very prevalent. And I mean, I know there are a lot of companies out here that only write term insurance because of how popular they are and how much of a need there is for them. So yes, to answer your question, we do offer term insurance as well, write a lot of it for people. And it's a very important part of protection and protecting your families.
And just to add to what he says, I didn't really understand life insurance until, just like Tommy. Hey Tommy, how you doing? Long time. But I didn't understand insurance, and I was at a seminar one time, and the purpose of insurance, period, is either to create an estate or to preserve an estate. And that's when I realized the importance of insurance, whether it be term or whether it be permanent. So Tommy, you're right on.
Okay, Blanche.
Good morning. I'm glad to get to that point because for seniors, it's hard for us to get anything, number one. As one guy told me, Well, when I told him my age, he said, well, then you probably should go ahead and take your money, go on vacations and da 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 da. I said, okay, that sounds good too. And then a lady came to me and she offered me like $5,000 policy, and I'm paying $50. But I'm able to, when I travel, because I travel a lot, if I travel, I'm able to, bring my body back and all that without costs and things like that. So that kind of helped me, impress me to do it. But, $5,000, that's not much either. But the other piece did, so I can't remember what the name of it is right now. But the problem is with us seniors and stuff, there's nothing out here. If there is something out here, please let us know what we can get, because you just said if you're 60 or whatever. So we're talking about the 70, 80, 90 folks.
Okay, yes, Ms. Blanche, so, I'm glad you brought that up, especially being that this is Life Insurance Awareness Hour that we're celebrating, right? So with my company right now, we offer this policy. It's called a guaranteed issued final expense policy. So the final expense part is geared towards the idea of the average cost for burials is about between $10,000 to $15,000. They've done the research on that and talked to a lot of funeral homes and burial sites. So between $10,000 and $15,000 is the average burial cost, and we offer a policy where you have the option, if you're between the ages of 45 years old and 80 years old, then I can guarantee that you can get life insurance with me. And this particular policy is a whole life or permanent policy. So it is one that'll last until you're 121 years old, and it also builds cash value. But again, the parameters are you have to be at least 45 years old or no older than 80. So when you turn 81, we can't offer this to you. And if you're 44, we can't offer this to you. And then the coverage limits that you have the option to choose from are anywhere between 10,000 and 15,000. So I've had people come in and say, all right, Dax, I have a dollar amount, I want to pay $100. I can pay $100 a month. I can plug that in, and it might spit out a number of $13,000 worth of coverage that you'll have for the rest of your life to ensure that you'll at least have that money to pay for burial costs. Because sometimes people will have insurance policies already, and they might want to just add to their portfolio, just to have extra money to leave for their loved ones and things of that nature. But then there's some of us, and some people who have nothing at all. And we've all heard of stories and probably even had to pitch in on situations where people needed help to pay for funeral costs, right? I mean, it's GoFundMe's are a big thing. Fish fries are definitely a thing. It's something that happens in our community. So with my agency, we offer this policy called a guaranteed issued final expense, where as long as you're at least 45 years old or 80 years old or young or in between those ages, we can guarantee you coverage for the rest of your life. And the way the policy works is the first 2 years of you taking this policy out, you get what's called a graded benefit period, or you have a graded benefit period. So within those 2 years, if you happen to pass away as a result of an accidental death, so that would be like a car accident, or if you slip and fall and die, if you accidentally or shot or choke on something, then we'll pay out that $10,000 or that $15,000 to your loved ones or your beneficiaries. But in the first 2 years, if you happen, to pass away as a result of natural causes or some type of health-related death, so that could be, cancer or HIV or, any type of health-related death, what State Farm does in that case is we'll pay your beneficiary all of the premiums that you've paid into it within that first 2 years, plus 5% interest. So either way, you're gonna at least get your money back, or not you, not the person that died, of course, but the loved one is gonna get their money back plus 5%. if you happen to die as a result of natural causes or health related. But if you die within those first 2 years of an accidental death, then your beneficiary gets the whole amount. And then after the 2 years are up, it doesn't matter how you pass away. And again, like Mr. Robinson was saying, we're gonna all pass away at some point. So eventually, your loved one is gonna get those funds that you took out the policy for. But yeah, that is something that we offer for seniors. Again, that cutoff age is 81. If you're 81 or older, I can't help you with that one, but we do have other products that we might be able to help someone with.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you speak to umbrella policies?
Yes. I sure can. I certainly learned about umbrella policies under Bob as well. I certainly remember that. But umbrella policies are pretty much an extra layer of protection for a family, for a business, for an individual, where if you, let's say for instance, let's say you cause a really bad car accident and the people that you hit end up being paraplegics, and let's say you hit a you messed up the life of a 35-year-old woman who had a lot ahead in life, who might have had another 25 or 30 years that she could have earned $1 million over that time frame. If you go to court as a result of that accident, the judge can say, all right, it was all your fault, sir. You caused that accident, and you're messing up this woman's ability to earn a living over her lifetime. So therefore, you got to pay her $750,000 because of that. What an umbrella policy will do for you is after you've exhausted that $250,000 worth of coverage under your car insurance policy, the umbrella policy swoops in and pays that difference, that extra $500,000 that you would usually owe this woman based on the court's decision to say that you were liable for her damages or lost wages. The umbrella policy is going to swoop in and pull money from that policy to pay out for that loss. Because if you don't have that umbrella policy, then in a lot of cases, the courts can make it so that they can maybe garnish your wages for a long period of time, or make you sell your house that you've worked for and assets that you've worked to build up over your lifetime. So I always look at an umbrella policy as just that extra layer of protection to keep somebody from getting directly into your pockets when you cause an issue that you're liable for, especially a monetary problem that you're liable for.
While they're adjusting Tommy's mic, I'm gonna circle back to life insurance for a minute. When the difference between when I first came into the business, State Farm and Allstate, is all of the people at Allstate were set up, we were set up, property and casualty was a big pusher, because they always told me that the older agents, auto for dough, life for show, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
That again, please. Sorry.
this is Allstate thing. The difference between Allstate and State Farm even today has more diversified life products than Allstate had and has ever had. So auto for dough, when I came in to Allstate, life for show. So we had to basically make life a priority. So that's the difference between State Farm and Allstate, even today.
Yeah, like my other question is that, like, for black people, insurance is very important because, that's the only thing they had to show off on a big funeral. They have nothing else. But like, I would like for you to emphasize, talk a little bit more about term insurance for younger people and stuff like that, because I think we haven't been told about it. We wasn't told about it. Because my aunt, she died when she was 91. I think she had about $200. She had been paid for her whole life, all of the years, I think, and then I had to chip in and bury her. So if you could talk a little bit about full coverage or something, it's real detrimental to the family health affairs.
Dax won't remember this because he's too young. You will, Tommy. It was mostly, I was from a small town, Kings Mountain. So we had people come around and knock on your door.
Yeah.
And for black people, you know, they basically said, we're only gonna give you this policy. And we're only gonna give you $1,000 worth of coverage or $2,000. And they'd even come around every week and collect that $2 or that $4. So for us, I mean, you know, we've come a long way in terms of what has been offered to us and what we have access to. So it's very important to, you know, speak to people about this, particularly younger people, because like Dax said about term insurance, if you're newly married, maybe have young kids or something, that's a wonderful place to start. Term insurance, you can just get a tremendous amount of coverage real cheap. And because, let's say your financial position will change in 5 or 10 years, then you can move up to a permanent policy and start accumulating some cash that way. So that's what I think about term insurance.
Yeah, and to me, like I was saying earlier, term insurance sometimes gets a bad rap, but it's very important. And the bottom line is everybody in here, everybody listening and watching, we know somebody's gonna die today in this world, in America, in Charlotte. Somebody died yesterday, somebody's gonna die tomorrow. It could be from ages 0 to whatever. Somebody's gonna pass away. So there's always gonna be a need to have that protection, because we hope for the best, but we gotta plan for the worst, right? And that's where having insurance, period, all different types of insurance, but specifically term insurance is one of those things where you're planning for, just in case some mess happens and you pass away throughout this certain time period, you're gonna have those protections in place to help your family not only bury you, but like Bob was saying, establish that legacy and create a legacy for yourself and for your family. The one thing about term insurance is, though, it terms out. It can term out. So yeah, if you get like I know with us, the last year that you can get a 30-year term, so it's 45 years old. So if you're a 45-year-old person, this is the last year, if you want to do business with me, that I can give you coverage until you're 75 years old. Now, when you're 75 years old, the most that I can give you as far as a time frame or term is 10 years. So that means at 85, if you're gonna live past 85, and I'm sure we all hope to, I got nothing for you in the term realm of things, right? Now that's where whole life comes in, because whole life is gonna extend past that age. But yeah, term means that it's gonna run out eventually. And if you do happen to pass away throughout that term, then yes, your beneficiaries will get the proceeds. But if you outlive it, then you would have been paying for protection over that 20-year, 30-year time period. So your protection was in place, but after it turns out, you gotta get another one if you wanna make sure that your loved ones are squared away after your passing. And we have other options for you to help you in that case.
Okay, Robert.
So Dax, talk for a minute. I know it's good you explain people policies and we talk on that, but for us on our side of the fence that's trying to, promote for especially young black people, professions that aren't tied to where you work for somebody for your whole life, that you can build your own business. Talk about, insurance agent and owning an insurance company as a way to start your own business and build your own, net worth.
Yes.
Without having to work for a company your whole life.
Okay. Yeah, so I talk about this with my friends and family a lot. I'm sure everybody in here has can say that, would y'all say that toilet paper is pretty ubiquitous. Like in this building that we're in right now, would you say there's a roll of toilet paper in here?
I hope so.
Right. We all hope so. At your house, is there a roll of toilet paper? If you go to a restaurant, there's toilet paper.
Not all the time.
I know, but you would expect there to be, right? You hope so,
I
right?
hope so.
And that's how to me, that's how I parallel the insurance business. The insurance business is a great business because it's the law to have insurance. You cannot get a license plate for your car under the law in North Carolina without having to come through me or come through Bob when he was an agent, and come through an insurance company, right? So again, just like toilet paper is everywhere you go, insurance is, this building that we're in right now has insurance on it, I'm sure, right? All the cars in the parking lot have insurance on them. So being that insurance is so ubiquitous and just, you can't go anywhere without it, you can't get your car without it, that's one layer of it. And then nowadays, when you buy a house, unless you're paying cash for that house, you gotta have it because the bank is gonna require that you have it if there's a loan involved, right? If you're renting an apartment or renting a house, most places are gonna require that you have renter's insurance. So that's another avenue that if you're in this business, people are gonna have to come holler at you because they gotta have it on many different fronts. But the biggest front, which is what Bob was speaking to when he was saying auto for dough, meaning auto for the most money that brings it in, because it's a must, it's a requirement that you have it. So from a business standpoint, I mean, for one, insurance is insurance, right? There are many different insurance carriers. We all offer the same product on its own. Now, it gets a little bit different when you get a chance to deal with the Dax McClady Senior Agency, because we have a different style and a different way of dealing with people that are gonna maybe, put us out in a different light or maybe better light than certain insurance carriers or agents. But the business itself, it's a shoe-in that you're gonna have some work, you're gonna have people that need your coverage because of the requirement around the law. And yeah, it's one of those things that, again, working under Bob, I got a chance to see firsthand, like.
Well, no, tell them about the residuals. That's why Bob's.
Oh, how it works? Yeah, I mean.
They're making them checks.
Yeah, the way it works is because everybody has to have it. If 1,000 people have to pay $50 a month, and you get a certain percentage of that, then yeah, it works. It comes in, and Bob, working for Allstate and having his own Allstate agency, their business model is set up in a way to where he was able to build his book to where it was considered equity, right? Kind of like in a house, or if you buy a piece of land in the right spot. Bob bought the right piece of land, so to speak, when it comes to opening up his own agency, and his land was bare. He started from scratch, and he built it up, and like he was saying, in 2021, he got a chance to sell his book of business that he grew, on his own initially, and then with the help of others, to the point where, I mean, Bob, you see him, he looks like $1 million for a reason.
Looks.
No, Bob said.
Looks can be deceiving.
Bob said when you said that, Bob said, well, a couple of years, I just chilled.
Right, exactly. He didn't even have to, he can sit on that. So yeah, it's definitely a great business, but again, it's mostly because when it comes to auto insurance, the law is on your side in this business, and I love that part of it.
And them too. Jacob.
Good morning.
Good
morning. I think my question is dual noted. So like the brother was mentioning in the back, just with concerns of how insurance is going to be most beneficial to us, just based on the information and just looking around the room, because it is, for the most part, minorities in the room. I want to know how you guys see the industry moving forward, how the Black community, both young and old, are going to take advantage of the things that are going on in the insurance industry, and how do you think that we can, moving forward, better inform the average minority here in the Charlotte community about insurance and how it benefits them and their family.
Okay. You want to start? Okay.
Yeah, so certainly with the latter part of your question, Mr. Vance the third, things like this, having forums like this, having a chance to get out and speak to more people, that's a sure way to make sure that people understand the importance of life insurance and how it can protect their families. Because I mean, it's really simple. Like if you love anybody, if you love anybody in the world, and if anybody loves you, so when you think about that, that should be real easy for you to be able to look around and say, oh man, I got a mama, I got a daddy, I got a cousin, I got a brother, I have a sister, I have great friends. Even if you love organizations, I belong to this civic organization or this sorority or this fraternity, I belong to this church. If you have a love for an organization or a person, or if somebody loves and appreciates or relies on you, then you should have life insurance, because you do not want that loved one, the one that you at least say that you care for, to have to be scrambling and having it, on top of dealing with the loss of that loved one. You don't want that person to have to be out there trying to beg people for, $100 here, $50 there to help deal with the burial cost. Because, I mean, our society is, the societal norm is to have a funeral. Like Mr. Robin was saying, like, people want to show out for their funerals sometimes. They want to that's one of the ways that people let people know what time it is monetarily for them, that they can have a big, nice funeral. But if you know that the person that you care for, that you love, would like to have that if they're passing, then you should have life insurance. But again, the simplest way is, if you love anybody, if you care about anybody or any organization or any church, and if you care about how they're going to feel after your passing, and you don't want them to have to scramble to try to beg people to come up with money to pay for burial costs, you better have some life insurance, and you better get it at an early age when it's the cheapest, because every year that we get older, life insurance is going to either be more expensive or harder to get, based on the fact that your health might be out of whack by the time you're ready to get life insurance, or you can get to a certain age where insurance carriers do not even offer coverage for you at that certain age, right? So the more we get a chance to talk about it in forums like this, the more if y'all send people our way and tell them to call us. I have our protection posse has a handful of people in the office that know exactly what I know, and even more in some cases, where we'll be able to discuss this with you, break it down, make it plain for you. That's something also that I always loved about working for Bob and for Howard. That these brothers, they talk plain. It wasn't a whole lot of extra wording regarding these coverages and explaining to them. They can break it down for people in layman's terms, and that's one of our specialties in my office, is that we can break it down to make sure you clearly understand it. But yeah, getting out in forums, getting a chance to talk to parents about getting coverage for young children, that's an important part, because most times we'll get a chance to have that conversation around the child, and even if the child is really young, it'll be something that we can kind of plant in their heads, so that when they get to an age where they care more about insurance, they can come holler at us, and they'll know that conversation has been had with somebody in their circle. But yeah, if you love anybody, and if anybody loves you, which is that's probably everybody that we know, you should have life insurance.
Okay, we have about 4 or 5 more questions, and we'd like to get to all the questions. The next question will come from Pat, and then we have T, and then we have Maurice, and Jackie, and Angie. So we'd like to get you to ask the question and be as short and give it as directly of an answer as you possibly can, Dex, because we don't have that much time. We'd like to answer everybody's question.
Okay.
Good morning. I have a question, because I have term life. And I got it when I was young, based off the fact that you think you're gonna live forever and you forget it's gonna expire. And for my children, I got universal, because I'm like, hey, yeah, and theirs go to each other, so they looking at each other. But with my term life, when it expires at 73, which is really close, and the bonus is I do have the payout on it. How can I ensure, because when I renew, I'm not gonna get what that lovely policy was worth. How can you educate us on a better way so that we don't think term life is the answer because we think we're gonna live forever? So are you teaching the people, like you just said, are you teaching them like, you got this in your 20s, maybe by 35, you need to be looking into something that's gonna benefit you long term?
Yes, that's something that we do. We a lot of times we talk about having multiple policies, because life insurance is not one where you can only get one and you can't get any more. You can have a portfolio of policies. So that's certainly one of the things that we do, is have conversations where especially when people are open with us, we can plan out the future in that way to say, all right, this is good for you for the next 20, 30 years, but at some point, we need to double back when we do a policy review and go over all your stuff to start setting up another policy for you to have that'll take you beyond 73 or so on and so forth. But yeah, and that's all about having a conversation. As long as you're open to talking with us and speaking and coming in and sitting with us, then of course we're gonna be wide open to putting you on to the information you need to protect your family for the long haul.
And that's also another reason for buying life insurance when you're young, because nobody says that you're gonna be healthy all your life too. So you start out in a term policy, and when you get to the end of that term, you may have high blood pressure, diabetes, or whatever, and you don't qualify. Well, you've got that policy in place, and because you bought it young, whenever you get ready to convert, it's guaranteed. And again, buy it when you're young, because you're not gonna be healthy all your life, not everybody. So that's kind of a hedge against, any of those things that will cause you not to be eligible whenever that term runs out. I think that's very important also.
Okay. Good morning. I'm T. White, and I know you've heard the term, that's my brother from another mother. Well, that's my son from another mother. Just wanted to know that I am so very proud of him. When he left the agency, I cried for months because he was just a delightful person to work with. So I'm not talking as much about life insurance. That was my specialty in the office. But the question I have about regarding life insurance is, how do we compete with young people in particular, with Nike and all the materialism? Because oftentimes trying to sell to young people, they just don't see the value. They would rather have a new pair of shoes or a new car, and that was a challenge when I was selling life insurance, is educating them, reaching the masses. And you best believe if you talk to me, you're gonna get a punch for Dax, so either you're gonna get one of his business cards. I keep them on my phone, so if you talk to me, you're gonna get a sales pitch, because he's a phenomenal young man.
Thank you for that, T. And she's right. T has, I just talked to somebody yesterday, T, that you sent our way, so thank you as always. I know we talk about that. But yeah, with regard to competing with that, it's all about having a conversation. I mean, I think our office does a good job of breaking it down in layman's terms, and I like to have, make people see, young people say, I'll ask them, all right, what do you see for your future in 5, 10 years? And whenever they say something about a family or getting married or having this or that, I'm like, all right, if that's what you want to do, then you might as well get some life insurance now while it's inexpensive, while those bills for having kids or having a house are not a part of your life right now, because eventually those are going to be more bills that you're going to have in your mix. So you need to lock in life insurance while you're young and healthy now, so that this will be off the table and you don't have to worry about it. But it's a tough sell, because most of us felt like we were gonna live forever when we were young. I mean, I know it. All of my friends, we all, I'm sure we felt we were gonna live forever. But yes, I mean, once we have a chance to have real talk with somebody, we can usually help them see the vision of why it's important to lock in life insurance at a young age. And then monetarily, I can easily show somebody what it'll cost at age 30, and then show them what it costs for a 65-year-old. And when they see that difference, that usually helps them make a decision pretty quickly too.
Can you speak to annuities and stocks?
To an extent. I'm not as well versed in either one of those yet. Now Bob, I know can, and I want to thank Bob and T for coming out today. Thank y'all. Yes. All right, y'all have a good one. But yeah, when it comes to stocks, I'm certainly not that well versed there. I can't. Okay, go. But so I can't speak to that as much. When it comes to annuities, in short, I can just explain that annuities are it's a vehicle for people to have where you can have income for life. Usually it's set up for people after they retire. Most of us, when we get to retirement age, we're going to be either relying on Social Security to help us pay our bills, or some type of pension if you work for a company that provided those types of benefits. But sometimes the Social Security or the pension, and both of them combined, is not enough. So what people will do is they'll invest money in an annuity. So they might put a lump sum, maybe $50,000 in an annuity. It sits in this bucket, so to speak, that an insurance, the State Farm does offer annuities for people. So you can put it in this bucket where State Farm is pretty much investing that $50,000 for you, helping to grow it. So by the time you get to an age where you want to start pulling from that annuity, that $50,000 might be worth $75,000 at that point. And then it breaks down to a point to where every month for the rest of your life, you'll get a certain amount of money to help you live your life, right? To pay for your bills or whatever it may be. But if you happen to pass away prior to all of that money running out, then an annuity kind of flips over to look like a life insurance policy where you would have a beneficiary in place on that contract from the beginning of setting it up, and your beneficiary would get whatever's left in that annuity to pay out like a life insurance policy would. But annuity is mostly set up to give people income after they've retired so that they can have a monthly check coming in from this annuity for the rest of their lives.
Good morning. Being self-employed, we don't have workers' comp like you would if you're working with a large corporation. Could you touch on what the workers' comp would be for people who are entrepreneurs, what you all offer?
Yes, I sure can. So the equivalent of workers' comp for a business owner would be disability insurance. And disability insurance is protection. In our office, we call it paycheck protection coverage. So what that is if you are at a point where you get injured or you get sick and you can't go to work, somebody like yourself, Angela, I know you're a hairstylist, so if you can't go in there and do hair, you can't earn your keep, right? You can't earn money. So disability coverage is what protects against that, where if you are out of work for a certain amount of time because of an injury or an illness, then we offer a protection for you where we'll send you a check every month that is usually the equivalent of 66% or 60% of what your annual salary is, to help you stay on top of bills and help you continue to live your lifestyle that you were accustomed to when you were earning that money. But yeah, if those of us who own businesses and that don't have those benefit packages that include workers' comp, and sometimes those benefit packages include disability insurance as well, you need to get with someone like me, or just get with me to make sure that you have that protection in place, because that's the only way that you're going to be able to keep your money rolling in if you can't go in there and earn your money like you usually would by being on the job. Thank you for that question.
Good morning. You know, Dex has a lot of insurance instruments for youngsters too. And this is very important. First of all, thank Dex and Angie for my wonderful granddaughter, London. Now also, Dex has a sister, Tiffany, and she's provided me with wonderful great-granddaughters. I have a London and a Lavender, and they have 2 great-grandsons. I told these folks about these policies that you provide for youngsters that can help them.
Okay, yes, thank you for that question, Daddy. That was definitely a good one. And so those policies right there are very important to me because that's actually kind of how I got started with writing life insurance. I was writing them on children. And I always say when it comes to getting coverage for young people, but specifically for like toddlers and even newborns, is life insurance will never be any cheaper. Because like, for instance, for my daughter London, before she was even 1 year old, I got her a life insurance policy. Because one, I knew that it was never gonna be any cheaper. It was as cheap as it would ever be. And life insurance is based on your age, your health, and your lifestyle. So the age part, like I said, London, she wasn't even 1 when I set her up with 1. And the idea is, when London becomes an adult and has her own family, she'll have this policy already in place. She's not gonna even have to pay on it. I'm looking out for her, you know? So she ain't even gotta pay on that when she gets her own family. But life insurance is based on your age, your health, and your lifestyle. The age part, we get it. The health part, we understand that the older we get, health issues happen. I mean, we know kids that have health issues. Sometimes kids are born with health issues, unfortunately. But health can keep you from either paying a fair rate or a good rate for life insurance, or it can make it to where a company won't even give you life insurance. So when you get it on a young person, usually you can skip over having to deal with a health issue. And then last but certainly not least, the lifestyle issue is a big part of whether or not you can get life insurance, because insurance carriers can and will say, no, you cannot have life insurance with us because you're a smoker. Or no, you cannot have life insurance with us. We think you're too much of a risk because you like to skydive, or you like to race cars, or you have a DUI on your record, or you have something on your criminal history. Insurance companies will not insure you if you have some of those things on your record. So when you set up a life insurance on a young child, on a toddler, on a newborn, they ain't had time to mess up, you know? So that means that you can lock that in before they mess up, and you didn't even ever, and they can mess up. They might, by the time they're in their 20s or teens, they might have messed up at that point, but you done already set them up, so you don't even have to worry about having to scramble to get them some life insurance because they're already locked in. And an insurance company can't, insurance carriers not looking at their records later on. They're not going to ask them if they're a smoker later on, or if they skydive. It won't even matter. So yeah, having life insurance on kids is a very important move, in my opinion, to put in place. You know, again, if you love them, I take it you probably do.
Okay, I'm gonna take a point of privilege here. 2 things that I want you to share quickly is about P. Diddy and how he got started in the business. And number 2, I have a question from the internet about long-term insurance.
All right, so P. Diddy, we're not even touching P. Diddy right now because he's going through something. We're not gonna go there. But there's a guy named Master P. All right, Master P, also known as Percy Miller. Master P is the owner of this company called No Limit Records. Master P has amassed a fortune from his record company, and the way that Master P's record company was seeded was as a result of his granddaddy leaving him, or putting Master P as a beneficiary on a $10,000 whole life policy that his granddaddy took out years ago, many years ago. Master P was the beneficiary. When his granddaddy died, they sent Master P that check for $10,000. And when life insurance checks are given out, for the record, they're not taxed too. So you never have to worry about the government taking even a penny off of those proceeds. But Master P took that $10,000, and then now he's one of the best and richest businessmen that we know of, black businessmen that we know of, but it was a direct result of his grandfather leaving him $10,000 in life insurance benefits.
Well, you know I'm not in the hip hop.
Oh, I know.
Can you share with us information about long-term insurance?
Yeah, so you might be talking about long-term care, right? And
long-term insurance.
Right, so I believe she's probably referring to long-term care, which is protection that helps you pay for your care if you're in a retirement home or in a place where you're having to get around-the-clock care from a nurse, right? And long-term care is something that is very important as well, but it's also expensive in this day and time. Unfortunately, due to the rules in North Carolina, I do not write long-term care insurance through my agency, and we can't do it through State Farm right now. So it's not something that I'm as well versed in as I am car insurance and life insurance and things like that. But it's my understanding that long-term care is an insurance policy that will help you pay for that cost to stay in some of those facilities where you're needing around-the-clock care and things of that nature.
Okay, I'd like to say once again, thank you for coming and Bob for sharing this information. Let's give them again a warm round of applause. And for those that are listening and for those that are here with us, if you have announcements that you'd like for us to share on our Sarah Stevenson website, please give the information to Steve or send the announcements in to the Sarah Stevenson Tuesday Forum. Once again, thank you guys for coming and supporting. And remember, life insurance is sort of like toilet paper. You got to have it.
All right.